Okay, good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine Reichman, and today we have Gina Bria here from the Hydration Foundation. I'm so excited to have you here, Gina. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, can't wait to talk. The conversation brings so much. It bears and makes new things happen. I love that.
Well, I hope that everyone is inspired as I am. And just to give people a little background, I met Gina at Equator Coffee, but we were both fellow New York transplants and we connected immediately. And so ever since I met her, I've been super inspired about what she's building at the Hydration Foundation, the message she's sharing, and the impact she's having. So Gina, would you share with us a little bit about your story?
Well, I'm a cultural anthropologist, and as an anthropologist, I was looking at hydration strategies all over the globe. Like I was very curious about, especially about how desert people survived without 8 glasses of water a day. Like, come on, why do they actually look better than we do? And you know, I thought, well, there's got to be something secret here. I've got to find out. So my big aha, my big discovery was they were using plants to hydrate, not liquid. And by plants, I mean things like cactus and aloe and tubers and roots and seeds. And these desert plants had enough biological intelligence that they knew how to store and concentrate water. And then the humans that were using the plants were receiving all the benefits of a concentrated form of water, a kind of gel water. I mean, if you know what an aloe plant is, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Of course. When these individuals were eating these plants, was this a mindful or a thoughtful choice that they made as a way to hydrate themselves, or was it just part of what was available to them and by extension then ended up hydrating themselves?
Well, I love that you use the word thoughtful or mindful, because what I'd love to get at in this conversation, and of course, Justine, you would get us right there, right? This is what conversations with you are like, is that there's a kind of thoughtfulness, a kind of mindfulness that has nothing to do with thinking through our brain and processing through all the kind of dense networks of rationality. There's a kind of receiving thoughtfulness in which nature is dying to share. So as a creature of nature, we go out and we are supported by the environment which bore us, which literally evolved us, which literally we spring out of. And that nature cares for us because we're part of it. We're a living entity in a living entity. And what happens when we're not hydrated is that we lose out on important biological nature information that runs our system naturally. So first big point, we are run by water. We are mostly water. If you do the molecular count, it's 99% water. By molecular count, we're 99% water.
Wow.
That's stunning. We don't think it because we're looking for the liquid form. But when we find it,
goes back to my question, right? Like when you were studying ritual and you were investigating and you found out that these communities were actually more hydrated because they're eating these, and we'll talk about that gel water after. I want to talk more about that. Did they know what this was? Did they know what they were doing?
Well, knowing is a kind of body knowledge that we're missing. Our culture, they pour everything in through the top funnel, right? Everything has to go through the science brain or the rational brain or the how does this work brain. And actually nature is so complex that the how does it work brain or question doesn't get at the massive spectrum of answers that nature is giving or that biology is giving. We can either have the nature conversation, which is, one group of tribe of people thinking, or we can have the science conversation. And of course, our job where we sit right now, Justine, is to be able to have both those conversations so we can invite, all our brothers and sisters into higher body health, but health is a small goal.
It's
You know,
true.
it isn't our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to be alive, fully alive, as much as this biology has for us, and also to give that liveliness back to our world. And we feel so disorganized or disjointed from ourselves and our world because we're not getting enough hydration, enough information that the water molecule conducts.
This conversation, it's so vast, and there's so much that goes into it, and there's so many different moving parts, from gel water to nature to all these different things, and I really want to make it accessible to everyone that's listening to us. So could you break down for me a little bit about this gel water and the importance of it?
Yeah. So when I found out that cactuses or chia seeds that had this concentrated water, that it was this very jelly-like form. First, I was trying to find out what the gel was. I thought it was like a polysaccharide, some kind of material, and I was trying to scientifically chemically identify what the heck that was. So I started calling in my networks. None of my fellow anthropologists had any idea what I was even talking about. And I will just back up and say that the way I approached this problem, or this ethnography, was I looked at different cultures, all the desert spots around the globe. So I was really I was very zeroed in desert cultures using gel-like plants, and the gel-like plant was the common denominator. So on one side of the globe, it would be chia seed. On the other side of the globe, it would be a tuber that had a gel-like quality in it, in the Kalahari, for example. So I zeroed in on the gel. They all had this, the plants all had this adaptive quality. And then I tried to find out who could tell me what that gel was. That was not an easy task, let me tell you. But I did.
How did you find out?
Well, I made this, I made this life-changing phone call, and believe me, life can change in one phone call. And I called up this guy at the University of Washington. He was a scientist, a bioengineer, and he studied cells and gels. That was the name of his book. And I called him solely on the name of his book. I'm like, okay, cells and gels. All right, I'm going to give that guy a call. And it turned out to be Dr. Gerald Pollack at the University of Washington, Pollack Lab. Deeply famous guy. Did not know that at the time. Can't believe he took my call. And I'm on the phone with him, and I'm like, hi, I'm an anthropologist. Like this matters to him, right? Hi, he's the world's foremost water authority. Breakthrough science on a water state that had not yet been identified. Of course, Mother Nature's always had it, but it hadn't been scientifically identified. And this fourth state of water, besides vapor, liquid, and ice, there's this gel. And this fourth stage turns out to be the most extensive stage of water. If water's on a spectrum going from vapor to ice, that's how water processes itself to get clean again. Oh my God, this is like huge. And so here he is, like this towering scientist, and I'm like, can you tell me what's that water in a cactus is? And he's like, well, it's literally concentrated water. It's called the fourth stage, and it's water in which the molecules of water have been concentrated enough by sunlight, think desert, by minerals, think desert, sand is all ceramic minerals, or by touching other biological elements, in which water then excites itself and the molecules start to spin together and share their electrons. Once they share their electrons, the atoms start jumping. That water becomes full of literally electricity. And that electricity then runs our entire biology. And, oh yeah, by the way, every other living thing.
So after you had this conversation with him, what happened? Because it's inspirational, and all of a sudden this was life-changing.
It was nuts. It was like, wait a minute, we're talking global implications. So big problem is I have a mother in a nursing home. And literally, while I am making these notes in my field notes about water and how people are using it in different cultures, and I'm making these phone calls to try to find out what I want, I'm getting phone calls from my mother's nursing home saying we had to hospitalize her. She's dehydrated again. And I was in this, literally in this story going, this can't be happening. You know, there has to be an answer in this story somewhere that I can help my mother with.
Was what was going on with your mother and your research, it just happened to be in parallel, right? I mean, this just was coincidental. But how did it impact the future of what you then went on to go do and what you are working on?
Well, with my mom, the first thing I did is I ground up and sent her a package. I sent it to her nursing home, and I instructed their staff to mix in a teaspoon of chia seeds into her orange juice in the morning. So it would make it slightly more like pulpy orange juice, but she'd never know because my mother was very picky about what. And by God, thank God, it literally worked. And this is why when you see that moment, you are like, okay, I know what my mission, I know what my work is for the rest of this time while I have a body. While I have a body, I'm here. So with Dr. Pollack, we founded the Hydration Foundation, which serves to give people new and better forms of hydration than guzzling all that water, including things as simple as putting a little salt in your water from your tap, or using watermelon to hydrate yourself with, or using holding the idea, Justine, the very idea in your head. Picture a bottle and picture an apple, and know that an apple is more hydrating than a bottle of water. And why would that be? You know, the reason is because that apple is full of concentrated water, which literally time releases it in your body, that allows you to actually absorb it. But the most important part of that story is it's full of electrical charge. And the bottle of water that comes from the tap or we buy in the store, that electrical charge has been lost. It's diminished. The water molecules have disorganized. They're not working together anymore, and they're not sharing their electrical conductivity. So knowing about the electrical conductivity of water turns out to be the most important part of this story.
Well, I just want to share with you that ever since I met you, I now am very thoughtful about when I'm thirsty. Instead of going, which this morning I'm just drinking water, but I've eaten 6 peaches in a day instead of drinking water because I'm like, I'm thirsty, but Gina says that it's much more hydrating to have this or that or whatever. And I'll go to the refrigerator and I'll get a stalk of celery. And then I'll get and then I'll get an apple. And so it's changed my behavior, and I'm much more thoughtful about what I'm doing. And I'm trying to pay attention to see how I feel. Am I less hydrated? Am I more hydrated? Does that quench my thirst, so to speak?
Yes.
And so it's been really meaningful for me, because the way that you present the information is so tangible and so approachable for me to hear and then make small changes to be able to have such a great impact.
How are you feeling, dear?
At the moment, I'm a bit parched, but I think that's because I had something very dehydrating this morning. Coffee.
Well, let me tell you how to make your coffee hydrating.
Do I put chia seeds in it?
Well, some people do. Some people are now drinking mushroom coffee, which is a super strategy because mushrooms, if you just look at the things, you know they're full of water, right? They're spongy. I mean, they're like, oh, okay, got it. And mushrooms, of course, are full of electricity, right? And by electrical function, I mean, look, they help your body organize its signals to each cell. So you become a more cohesive being. And So another way to get your coffee more hydrated is to throw a little ghee in it or butter.
So is that similar to what we've all read about? What is his name?
Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Coffee.
Right.
So what he did is he modernized ancient strategies in high altitude cultures. So if you go to Peru, you go to the Andes, or you go, that's famous for cocoa, right? Mm-hmm. That's fat and liquid and minerals. Cocoa is fat and liquid and minerals. If you go to Nepal, you're going to get, well, you might not want it, but tea with yak butter. You know, other cultures use goats or camels with their hot morning drink. So clue there, 3 clues: hot, morning, fat, mineral.
Say butter. That's my clue. Butter.
That's great. That's great. And another is you could make your coffee with vortexed water, because the water then you're using in the coffee is different than your tap or your bottled water. So
where would we get this water?
Well, I work with the Wellness Enterprise. They've been a great sponsor at the Hydration Foundation, and they have a portable a funnel. It's about this long. It's very simple, and it's a funnel, but it's organized in such a way that you put the water in the top, and it spins itself over a series of ceramic faceted balls and comes out the other end with an electrical charge. So here's some modern innovation, right? Activating ancient Mother Nature strategies that the ancients were using as well. So super smart, and I think we need all these solutions going on in our life. So
definitely, and if our listeners wanted to, or me, for example, wanted to get one of those vortex,
right?
Where would I find it?
Oh, great. Yeah. So on my website, thehydrationfoundation.org. We named it Hydration Foundation because it rhymes and you'll remember it.
I remember it always. And I want to get back to talking about the Hydration Foundation for a minute, because you mentioned you guys opened it and you wanted to educate and inform people around hydration and how to access hydration through plants. And so initially, when you guys started this, what was the impact you wanted to have?
Oh, great question, because it has changed. So originally, we just wanted to get people aware of this hydration information. So we put tons of recipes on there. We put the science on there so they could understand, because you have to talk people into this. Like, wow, come on, an apple's going to hydrate me. Everybody knows you have to drink 8 glasses of water a day. What are you talking about? So we really wanted to create lots of recipes, and they're all there on that website, and also to target vulnerable people like the elderly, and to make people aware. You know, a lot of the elderly are on pharmaceuticals. They're often on many pharmaceuticals. Each one of those pharmaceuticals has an opposing electrical charge, which takes down their hydration. Now, if anybody needs to be hydrated, it's the elderly, and you know that story from my mom. So I have a particular concern about the elderly. Then there's, you know, pregnancy and breastfeeding, getting on an airplane. We're not doing that as much, but how to fly on an airplane. It was just like those simple things: how to fly on an airplane, how to help your elderly mother, how to sleep through the night without peeing, you know, how to get
that one. I love that one.
We got to talk about that. So don't let me get off without giving a chia recipe. But the whole essence of the Hydration Foundation was to better people's hydration, to open up this whole new world of knowing yourself as a water being, and not going for the chore of chugging 8 glasses of water, but living as a biological water being, and how could be a wonderful experience through your day, to continue to feed yourself, nourish yourself, to be in fluid motion, and to understand how all of that works together. And then what happened is the science of the microbiome started coming out. Mm-hmm. And realizing that, oh my God, not only we need to be hydrated, but our microbes need to be hydrated in our gut. Wow, that's a whole really new way to talk about why hydration is the most urgent project of the day. To continue to be a water being on dry land, how do we do that? And then it became apparent that the soils, the microbes in the soils, are really the essential issue. And because we advocate hydrating through healthy plants, then growing healthy plants became a concern. And so we broadened our mission to hydrate people, plants, animals, and soils. And boy, that's a very big vision. We
Yeah.
need a lot of collaboration for that.
Are there any stories you can share of the impact from maybe an individual or, yeah, okay, I see the yes, I see the head nodding.
Oh, this story makes me so happy. So we have so what we started to do at the Hydration Foundation is collect donations to restore soil. So we get people better hydrated. We teach them that information. And it's either $33 an acre or $99 for 3 acres. And then we, as a gift for $99, give people a summit that we created with all the experts. Now, what I did is collect 30 experts talking about why hydration was so urgent. And each one of them gives their own tip for how they hydrate themselves outside of the 8 glasses a day prescription.
Which I just want to just touch on that for a second. So do we really need 8 glasses, or is this like, I mean, everybody said this for as long as I can remember.
Right.
And
yeah.
Is that is it true? Do we need that 8 glasses? Because we're all different shapes and sizes.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you're if you're a 198-pound athlete doing jumps, you're going to need a vast amount of water.
But do you need 8 or do you need 20?
But the question is the problem, because it's a prescription for all conditions and all people.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. And the other point is we're not actually hydrating ourselves as much as if we're eating those plants. So
right.
The prescription seems to be a little bit off and not really tailored to
right.
any individual. It's
right.
just generalization.
Yeah.
Which if I'm 120 pounds and somebody else is 300 pounds, our needs are very different.
Very different.
And depending on how active we are.
Yes.
Or any of those things. I mean, I think that it really is just not you can't just make a broad statement, you need 8 glasses of water.
Right. And the real prescription would be to identify for each individual that you are a water being, and that you need to find out how to replenish yourself as you move through the conditions of your day. So this is why we always help people look at your level of fatigue. You know, if by 3 o'clock you've hit the wall, you're dehydrated. That's what the issue is. If your brain fog is high, that's a hydration. 80% of your brain is made of this water, and it does the most electrical conduction of all the organs in your body. You know, if you're not sleeping well, you need a lot of hydration to sleep well. By the way, sleeping is when water does its most sanitation work in your brain and your body. You have to know these strategies. And also you need to know you need to move, because that's the distribution mechanism for the body. So just think of yourself as a fish on land. You know, you got to be dealing with this, because it's not only important for your health. It's not another task. It's another way of being that we missed somehow in our indoor environment.
Completely. Gina, can we go back though? Because I don't want to miss, you had mentioned sleeping through the night without having to pee.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that would like to know how to make that happen.
Well, it's going to be a slow process to train yourself out of it, because it's a hormonal issue, a chemical issue that then builds, just like insomnia builds or those anxiety chemicals build, and then we're used to living at that level. Mm-hmm. But it really helps to finish your day with like a half a cup of chamomile tea. Like, some of these are going to sound like, oh, I've heard that before. Mm-hmm. But or a little glass of magnesium powder. So chamomile tea is a biological element of plant biology, which then touches the water, which then electrifies the water. Same with magnesium. Or a strategy I really love, and I used a lot with my elderly friends now, is chia pudding, which is not a liquid form of hydration. It's very simple, because you have a few spoonfuls of this, and that water is then time released very slowly through your system through the night. And you will find these practices eventually get you through a long night of sleep, which is a glorious thing, because, you know, a fish at rest is a beautiful thing.
I would agree.
So let me give you the recipe. It'll just take you 1 second because I'm going to teach it to you by memory, so you'll just remember it always. But you go to your grocery store, you buy a can of coconut milk, and then you put in 5 tablespoons of chia seed. Doesn't matter whether they're white or black or ground or whatever. It won't matter. But 5 because you've got 5 fingers. So now you won't have to, you just go, oh yeah, those 5 fingers of chia seed, and then you mix that up and you let it sit maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Then you mix it again because it can clump and you don't want that. And then you let it sit and you'll watch how it becomes a beautiful pudding. And you can sweeten that with a little honey or a jam, like a raspberry jam on top. And you make this amazing treat for yourself that you find just nourishes you. Of course, you can have it for breakfast. You can have it anytime. But this is one of those surprising strategies about hydration that people always are amazed at, that, wait, how can pudding hydrate me? Because the whole story up till now has been, it's liquid, liquid, liquid. But it's not.
No, I love that. And those are all really easy things for us and tweaks for us to make.
Yeah.
We can go adjust what we're eating in the morning for breakfast. We can adjust what we're eating in the evening, the snacks that we're having, all to really support our body to be more hydrating, which is just better for us, for our wellness, right? I think you and I were having a conversation once where we were talking, and you mentioned that you were talking to doctors, and they said a lot of the time, one of the things that helps their patients the most is actually making sure that they are hydrated. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And you were telling me that you interviewed some doctors, I think it was Dr. Zach Bush and maybe some other people, and they were all saying the same thing, which really supports your mission.
Right, right. The point is our system is run on hydration because we are water beings. All electrical function in our bodies depends on the conductivity of the water inside of us. And it isn't about more, it's about quality. So once we have, and by the way, match that with the information that we didn't know we were so much water. Mm-hmm. We're really water beings. We've crawled out of the sea, and now we're here on 2 legs, and we have to take special care of the water qualities that we are. And once we discover this about ourselves, who we are biologically and who we are as a soul becomes more alive because we're taking care of the natural place that we exist in. And even your eyes, your eyes are embedded in the eye jelly, for lack of a better word. And the precision of your perception relies on how well hydrated your eye is. Literally, if you have less hydration, your eye doesn't see as well. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to share is that hydration makes us function so that we receive all of the beauty of the world outside of us. If we receive the natural optimism of Mother Nature, and we receive more solutions for how we go about what we have to manage in our day as a human, modern human, moving through, dental appointments and, all the things that we have to manage, but still alive and alert to the beauty the world has to give us. And so this is a very different way of living. And boy, Justine, we're in a pandemic. We're in an extraordinary global moment, and we need this information more than ever. Your whole immunity runs on hydration. Every system, your lymph system, your blood circulation, your oxygenation, your brain capacity, pick it, I don't care. Your digestive system, your elimination. Now that you line them up like that, your whole fascial system, you realize, oh my God, yeah, I am water. I am made of water. So upping your water is an important strategy for coping with COVID and for coping with our new ecological conditions and figuring out how we're going to offer ourselves to our moment in history as a water being, capable of receiving vast amounts of information from Mother Nature.
That is just amazing. And I love all the information and how tangible you make it and accessible for everyone. And this pandemic has changed the way of living and the things that we're doing, our activities, what we're eating, all those different things. And to that end, I want to ask you, I know that your focus is hydration and making it accessible and educating people so that they can know how to better hydrate themselves through plants and the impact it can have. But I want to ask you in the sense of food, and this is all about people making more informed choices and businesses being able to make thoughtful decisions as they build their business.
Right.
What is your vision for the future of food and the impact you want to have, both in the short and the long term?
Oh, wow. COVID has had such an impact on showing us how the food security is the future issue. And our biggest issue in food security is recovering land from contamination. We get that land decontaminated, the rivers get decontaminated, the oceans get decontaminated, the atmosphere gets decontaminated. So the quickest route to recovering our food security and getting people close to plants is trying to help Mother Earth get hydrated. The decontamination literally does what it does to us. The chemicals do to us, they dehydrate it. The chemicals on the land, serious dehydration.
Well, there's so much I want to talk to you about and more. I mean, I want to go into the soil and how the fires are impacting that and how it's going to impact the plants that we're eating. But we're going to save that for another conversation, Gina.
Okay.
Come back because I think there's more to explore here and more for our listeners to tap into and more that I want to learn. So I really appreciate you joining me this morning on Essential Ingredients. And I hope our listeners enjoyed this conversation. And if you have any questions, you can make sure to email us or follow us on Instagram at NextGenChef. You can follow Gina. Everything will be in the show notes. And I hope that you guys will subscribe to this channel and continue to hear more talks like this, more interviews with thought leaders and change makers and founders about the future of food, and participate in the conversation and change the narrative and change the future of food.